Shalom, shalom. Man, Yom Day 6, prep day. Man, want to put this out there for anybody that is new, you know, to viewing the channel, new to subscribing, considering subscribing. You might want to wait before you do that, okay? Man, there was people of the book who did not want to hear the truth. They didn't want to hear the truth. They wanted to hear smooth things. They wanted to have deceit prophesied unto them. And that's what the word says. Speak unto us smooth things. Prophesy deceit. You know, when you ask yourself why Hamashiach didn't go unto the Gentiles, but he was going to minister unto the house of the lost sheep of the house of Israel, man, there's a certain way that when he came across, Gentile, when he came across Pharisees and scribes, there's a certain tone and vein that he came in, especially if they were rejecting truth. And he wasn't worried about flattery and smooth speech. He would let them have it. And I tell you, Western culture has a very soft and supple way of hearing. And you don't see this in other countries. And this is why I said, if you're considering subscribing, man, first and foremost, if you pay attention at the end of my videos, man, I say Closer to Yah Ministries kicking it gun barrel straight. Gun barrel straight. As a drill sergeant, when trainees would say, man, how come I'm not graduating, drill sergeant? Rather than sugarcoating and sprinkling powdered sugar and all of that, I would legitimately look at them and say, hey, look at your rating. Look at these counselings you got. Man, you're not graduating because you're full of shit. And oftentimes, majority of them would be offended. And they would get recycled. Some of them wouldn't make it. But every once in a while, you'd have some that was their first time ever being called on their crap, on their bullshito. And they say, hey, I'll do better. And the ones that say I would do better, I would check on them in later cycles, and they were doing good. They didn't have no problems whatsoever. They could receive truth. Others would file complaints and things like that. But today I'm talking about, man, in Western culture, people have a way of being offended by words. And the majority of people will say, man, that's cursing. But when you use the Bible to define cursing, that's not what the book says. And if you take the word, shit, in Western culture, you have a politically correct people that lives lawless, promotes abominable lifestyles. They rather hear number two. They rather hear the word number two. The only problem with that is you travel around the world, everybody doesn't have Western ears. Okay? If you are in Germany and you say number two, hey, I'm going to take a number two, they're going to look at you like you crazy. Number two? Number two what? That's a Westernized way of hearing. In German, you'll hear people say Scheiße. Okay? Bible says dung, waste, spoil. In Korean, it's thong. In Greek, it's skata. Only in Westernized culture are people offended by words, but yet you won't keep that same energy of correcting people that are walking around telling you to live abominable lifestyle. Every time people walk around say Merry Christmas, you ain't telling them, hey, I ain't no heathen. Man, when people say Merry Christmas to me, you gonna get left on red. And I've had people say, man, how come you didn't say nothing back? I say, I ain't no heathen. And automatically they're offended off rip. Man, I've got family. Let me break this down. I've got family that's ordained by a piece of paper. I've got family that's ordained by a piece of paper. And the reason I say that, the Most High Yah ain't never ordained nobody and told you that you ain't got to keep the commandments. That's why I say that they ordained by a piece of toilet paper that's only good for wiping up shit. And you let these religious people tell you they don't want to hear, you can't say the word but around them. You know, you can't even use the scientifical description. You can't say vagina. You know, oh, you can't say that. That's a bad word. Who signed off on that list of words? A lot of these, you got people out there that's so uber religious but lawless in not keeping the commandments. The you see the word hell throughout the book. That you can't say hell. That's a curse word. And these folk don't even know what cursing is. They don't even know what cursing is. In other countries, they have vulgar language, but it is not to the extreme like Western culture. Man, I want you to understand, in Western culture, you know, people are very choosy when they want to hear certain words. Like we have the lawless, we got lawless women, the set apart women, and you ain't gonna hear them ever refer to themselves. But we got lawless women that play politically correct. They walk around calling themselves bad bitches. But the minute you keep that same energy, they're offended. We've got some Hellenistic Israelites, Hellenistic Jews. You will sit on the block, and if you just roll down the window and listen to a group of us in the urban city that ain't using their time wisely, nigga this, nigga that, nigga this, yeah, the music, you have had a music cranked, bumping nigga this, nigga that. The minute somebody call you a nigga, you offended. See, if you kept that same energy, far as work ethic and keeping the commandments of the Most High Yah, we wouldn't have no problem. And this is where I tell you, if word choice, because I'm not on here telling folk to go to you know, and putting these spells and all of that. No, that's what, you know, cursing is. But if simple word choice selection is not that smooth speech you want to hear, you know, this may not be for you. Closer to Yah Ministries may not be for you. Just as Hamashiach wasn't for everybody. I want you to understand, even in times of fair speech, the heathens was offended by the truth. Man, I don't worry about people that's offended by words. They don't have one thing about it is they don't have hell to put anybody in. They dang sure, without keeping the commandments, fearing the Most High Yah, believing in truth, don't have access to the kingdom, let alone don't have gates to have anybody outside knocking on. And I tell you, for a lot of the men, you know, if you are kind of, you know, a little bit of supple and soft and easily offended, you rather hear number two, the politically correct Western, you know, acknowledgement for dung, or shiza, or scatta, or thong, This channel might not be for you. But before you go, check out my women's ministry playlist. Check out my women's ministry playlist. Those messages might be a little bit more suitable. Man, there is a huge difference between the men that are, raised in the city and those that have come out. There's a huge difference. Huge difference. Man, I can talk to my neighbors about different things, and I don't hear my neighbors that are into cattle say, man, I got to go harvest all this number 2. In conversation, they're saying, man, I got to go harvest all this shit, all this cow shit. And nobody's offended because we understand. But, man, I truly worry about how a lot of men would do on the front lines when it's time to go toe-to-toe, with the enemy, even in sake of protecting your family. I wonder about that. And I tell you, if you have a westernized way of hearing, and you rather hear messages that's smooth, and you rather hear TD Jakes sit up there and talk about getting swallowed. Look, this Closer to Y'all ministry is not for you. Man, I didn't tickle nobody's ears. When I was a drill sergeant, I didn't tickle nobody's ears when I first started this thing. Like it's gonna be gun barrel straight. And once it comes out the chamber, truthful, sometimes that truth is hot. I have no problem whatsoever. Post coming out, man, I can't even sit in some of these places of worship because the pastors is in there teaching bullshito, teaching messages that are pure shit. But people sit in there and listen to it and think they got the truth and ain't striving to keep not yet one of the Most High Yah's commandments. People will say, from time to time, I'll get, that's a curse word. And I'll say, Bible that thing. Book, chapter, and verse that. They'll say, watch your language. You shouldn't use that kind of language. Okay. What if I used another language? People don't have layers. They don't have depth like that. And I tell you, once you travel and get out of Western culture and see something, experience something different, you'll realize, oh snap. Realize Western men, no matter how much they parade themselves around as far as alpha, sigma, man, Western men, they are some soft men. They are some soft men if you do not get around the process of men that will sharpen you to be able to have grit and intestinal fortitude to get that estrogen up out of your system. Man, Closer to Yah Ministries is not that politically correct ministry. It's not. I'm telling you. If you're looking for that, go give your money to some of these people on these corners that's gonna lie to you and twist and warp the word and give you bullshito. Go pay for that. But over here, where this is free, where we ain't begging you for nothing, you're not gonna get bullshito. You're gonna get it straight up the middle. Straight up the middle. And that's how it is. If you feel like unsubscribing, unsubscribe. I thank you for your view. No hard feelings. Unsubscribe. Man, I hope you guys have a blessed Yom Day 6 prep day. getting ready for the Shabbat. Got a fire message I'm going to be bringing tomorrow, and it's coming straight up the middle too. Coming straight up the middle. Closer to Yah Ministries, kicking that thing gun barrel straight.